Assalamu alaikum, Beta Makem, Bayam. That's the response. Happy New Year. Happy Passover. Happy New Year and happy Passover. What is the New Year? What is the Passover? They say, well, man, I thought January 1st was the New Year. Why is this saying Happy New Year today? How is today the New Year when January 1st is the New Year? Is January 1st the New Year? Your response would be because of indoctrination. Of course it is, Abdullah. January 1st is the New Year. What are you talking about, Willis? Absolutely, January 1st is the New Year. I've been celebrating January 1st as the New Year all my life. That's all I know. March 20th, March 21st. What does that have to do with January? What does it have to do with the New Year? All right, so how is the New Year determined? Is it arbitrarily determined, arbitrarily decided? You just throw some rocks in the air and they land, and and you do a eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a doggy by his toe. How is the New Year determined? How was it determined that January 1st is the New Year? How is it determined that today is the New Year? So these are questions that will be answered on the next hour question. So let's get right to it. Now, we're going to address a misconception during the next hour that today is Easter. As people will say, so we have a body of people who will refer to the day as Easter. That March 21st or the New Year and Easter are one and the same. That's also out there. So we need to examine that. So we need to look at the astronomy and to get our answers so that we can be clear why today is the New Year, or why today is a new year. All right. And we're going to also look at another new year so that you be clear that the March 21st is a new year. All right. A new year marker. And there is another new year marker that we'll get into a little later. All right. So astronomically speaking, if you look at the board, there are 2 points where the sun crosses the equator. Our ancestors charted these points thousands of years ago. And the 2 points where the sun crosses the equator, or the apparent motion of the sun, is at this point the vernal equinox and the autumnal equinox. These are 2 points where the sun crosses the equator. There are 2 points where the sun is out its outer limits, its extreme points. They're called solstitial points, the summer solstice and the winter solstice. So just giving you some astronomical background. All right? These points were charted thousands of years ago. We have the zodiac. The zodiac is a band of 12 groupings of stars. So the constellation or zodiac is a band of 12 groups of stars. That was those groupings of stars were charted thousands of years ago. This background knowledge is very important in order to be able to determine the seasons the zodiac or that 12 or constellation or that 12 band of grouping of stars had to be charted. So astronomy plays a huge, is not played, is the foundation. Astronomy is the foundation of civilization. Let's talk about that. We have GPS. We have clocks, weather reports. You have calendars. You have maps. What knowledge base is used to develop those systems? Astronomy and spherical trigonometry. So you see that astronomy and spherical trigonometry is the heart of civilization. Planting food, harvesting food. Astronomy is the heart, is at the heart of civilization. And these are, you have astronomy as part of your everyday life. And you don't even know it. You're not cognizant of that your astronomy affects what you're doing. You turn on the GPS. You have so what's the satellite? Well, the satellite has to be programmed. Algorithms has to be programmed. So it's not the satellite. Algorithms that's programmed. All right? So someone with astronomical knowledge, it's programming. So they're using the longitude and latitude knowledge to determine or to create algorithms so that you're knowing where you are. Navigating ships. Planting food, as I said before, and harvesting food. Making maps. So ships are used for also for trading and commerce as well. People take cruise ships. So astronomy is the heart of civilization. Let's imagine a world without astronomy and math. Where would we be? All right? So I wanted to set this plane, the surface. All right, so looking at, once again, Happy New Year, the vernal equinox. So it's the point where the sun crosses the equator. The sun crosses the equator, so sun enters today the zodiac sign of Aries. So it'll be in the zodiac sign of Aries for 30 days. The sun is in each zodiac sign or each grouping of stars for 30 days. Now looking at here, vernal equinox. Now, question as I raised a few minutes ago, what does January 1st have to do with the new year? Why is January 1st referred to as the new year? Well, January 1st is a political, artificial new year. January 1st is not an agricultural or astronomical new year. There were most of the countries in Europe celebrated the new year on March 21st to March 20th, March 21st. That was a well-known astronomical agricultural fact in most countries in Europe. What happened? Well, in 1582, Gregory the 13th, issued a bull that there was that the agricultural and astronomical new year, March 21st, will no longer be celebrated, and that it would be, the celebration would be shifted to January 1st as the artificial and political new year. In 1752, Great Britain made the change. So up until that time, Great Britain was celebrating the new year on March 21st. Now, those who continued to celebrate the agricultural, mathematical, and astronomical new year as March 21st were called fools. So they were made fun of. They were discouraged. So this was a political inducement. Why? Why such a push to move the people away from the agricultural, mathematical, and astronomical new year to a political, artificial new year, January 1st, for control, to control their resources, to control the resources, because the planting, right, let's look at an agrarian society, agricultural society, a horticultural society. So shifting the people, when you control a people's food source, you control them. Get them from not planting. Move them from the knowledge of planting and harvesting. This was a move for control, controlling societies of people for generations. So where were the people's minds? Farming, planting, harvesting, charting the new year, charting when to plant, when to harvest. So how do you control a people? Moving away from that knowledge. Control their food sources. So it's important that we understand, we comprehend why January 1st. Now I'm going to give you, now there is astronomy that surrounds January 1st. And I have to give that to you so that you know that January 1st was not arbitrarily chosen. They didn't, stone was up in the air and say, or did a eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a doggy by his toe. If he hollers, let him go. We're going to choose January 1st. Absolutely not. So it's very important to know the astronomy surrounding January 1st, but it's not the new year. All right? Now, January 1st, I've talked about this when we dealt with the Christmas celebration. January 1st is where the sun, the Sirius, is at the highest point in the sky. Sirius, the dog star. Being the highest point in the sky, Sirius can be seen in most parts of the world. And that's that ball that drops. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. But of course, it's not the new year. It's just Sirius being at the midheaven, the highest point in the sky. Also, there is That's an important astronomical phenomenon. There's another important astronomical phenomenon. You have what's called the Great Celestial Conjunction. Orion, Taurus, and Pleiades. Now, Orion, Taurus, and Pleiades, you have that same alignment on July 4th. But that alignment of Orion, Taurus, and Pleiades can be seen here. This is why January 1st was chosen. So January 1st is the celebration of Sirius being in the midheaven, being highest point in the sky, so therefore it can be seen in most parts of the world, and the great celestial equation conjunction, which can be seen this part of the world during January 1st, all right? And July 4th, it be seen in Egypt on July 4th. So this, and Masonry and Masonic orders, the celestial equator is that knowledge of the celestial conjunction is preserved in what is known as the winding staircase. The winding staircase has 3 sets of steps. The first step is 3, denoting Orion, which is a pole star of 3 stars. The second grouping of steps is 5, denotes Taurus, which is a grouping of 5 stars. Then you have this third set, 7, emblematic of Pleiades, which is a grouping of 7 stars. 3, 5, 7. And they have the all-seeing eye, Sirius, the all-seeing eye at the top, or the staircase representing Sirius. So 3, 5, 7, 1, Sirius. So that 3, 5, 7 winding staircase, that's the great celestial conjunction. That is what's being celebrated on January 1st, as well as Sirius being in the midheaven. So I do not want you to throw January 1st away, or have the knowledge of January 1st. That January 1st is not the new year, it is a celestial conjunction. So let's not throw January 1st away. You need to understand why January 1st was chosen, why there was a move, a shift from the agricultural, mathematical, astronomical new year, March 21st, to January 1st. It was not arbitrarily done. We need to have knowledge of this. Nothing's arbitrarily decided. Nothing's arbitrarily done. Moves are made based on knowledge. All right, so I want to empower you. So we need to understand why. So this is the new year. Why it's the new year? Why January 1st is not the new year? And what is January 1st? What actually is January 1st? So looking at also, there's been a misconception about today. There are those who refer to the day as Easter. They'll interchange, they'll say, my Happy New Year, or they'll say Easter. No, today's not Easter. Easter, let's look at astronomy, y'all. Astronomy. Now, the word Easter, Astareth and Canaanite, Ishtar, Astarte, Friday or Frega or Freya, the planet Venus. So this relates to the sun. The sun is on the equator. The sun leaves the Tropic of Capricorn on the equator today, today at 5:37 this morning, and enters the tropic of Cancer. Where does Venus come in? Where does Venus come in? This is the sun. How is the day Easter? Easter's Venus, Esther, Astarte, Ishtar, Astareth. This is the sun. This is all about the sun. This is a marking where the sun crosses the equator. Easter is between mid-March and mid-April. Easter's not fixed. As I said a couple months ago, that the United States presidential inauguration up until 1935 was scheduled based on Easter, based on the heliacal rising of Venus. All these misconceptions, I got to address misconceptions. In order for you to comprehend, to clearly comprehend today and what the Passover, that the day is the new year, I have to address misconceptions. You have the heliacal rising of Venus. This is between mid-March to mid-April. It's not fixed. The United States, once again, the United States presidential inauguration was celebrated between this time period, mid-March, mid-April. It was not fixed. There was no fixed date for the United States presidential inauguration because they used Venus, the planet of fertility and fecundity, as their marker. But they didn't do a Constitution Amendment, United States Constitution Amendment, the presidential inauguration, 1935, was now what? Deemed to be January 20th. Every 4 years, January 20th, United States presidential inauguration. Why, Abdullah, January 20th? Did they throw stuff up in the air, or did they uni mini madi mo and decided, oh, January 20th? They went, absolutely not. Once again, Sirius the dog star again. January 1st, Sirius is the midheaven, the highest point of the sky, and can be seen in most parts of the world. January 20th, Sirius is in the night sky the longest. There is a ritual every 4 years. During the presidential inauguration, it's a ritual. Sirius is at the midpoint, at the center of that. Sirius, the dog star, is in the night sky the longest. So once again, the Abiyans are using our culture, tapping into the energy. And we just unconscious. This knowledge is empowering. The Abiyans use this knowledge for their preservation and keep this from us. This is how we charted our destiny, built civilization, maintained civilization with this knowledge of astronomy, So I'm just opening this up for you. So it's not Easter. Now I mentioned that as I'm addressing these misconceptions, we have the bunny rabbit. And why the bunny rabbit is associated. Well, the bunny rabbit is associated with, they saw what they say, Easter. Well, there is Easter, which is the helical rising of Venus, and Easter was charted to know when to plant for the corn maze or vegetation. Because during mid-March and mid-April, you have the raining seasons. So there is a Venetian calendar, a 206-day, 60-day calendar, a Venetian calendar of Venus, that was developed several hundred years ago to chart Venus, to chart when the helical rising of Venus, knowing when to plant. Now, so there is fertility there. So the bunny rabbit will be associated with that as well. The bunny rabbit will also be associated with today because you're looking at fertility. You have, new plant life. So you have a change here, a shift where now the sun is on the equator, and equinox means equal day, equal night. There's not 12 hours. It's not going to be exactly 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night. It's going to be approximately. You'll have times where there's 12 hours and 50 minutes of daylight, and 11 hours. It's a change of 10 minutes of night. Or there's times where you have maybe 13 hours and 10 minutes of daylight. So what's called the equinox, astronomically speaking, would be equal day of time and equal night, time and night. That's why it's called the equinox. You also have the same that occurs during the autumnal equinox, which is March 23rd in the northern hemisphere. September 23rd in the northern hemisphere. Now, is it the New Year in South America? Are they saying Happy New Year in Peru? Are they saying Happy New Year in Argentina? No. It's not the vernal equinox. They'll say, well, why are you calling me? Why are you saying Happy New Year to me? It's not the vernal equinox. It's the autumnal equinox. It's the autumnal equinox below the equator. 6 months difference. So I need to convey that it's not the autumnal equinox, the vernal equinox all over the world. So 6 months difference. We're talking about astronomy and geography. So this is an astronomical lesson. Absolutely. So very important. So we got March 21st, 20th to 21st, the vernal equinox. You have your autumn. That's another point where the sun crosses the equator. It's September 23rd in this northern hemisphere. All right. Now, Abdullah, I've heard you mention that July 4th is a new year. It absolutely is. So it's important to know that March 21st is not the only new year. March 21st is a new year, but it's not the only new year. Now you're looking at, so what is July 4th? July 4th is the helical rising of Sirius. So it's important to that. So this is retaining to the day, expanding your knowledge. So you have the helical rising of Sirius. Here goes Sirius again. Oh my gosh. July 4th. The Egyptian New Year. All right, which is Hek Ka Patah. Hek Ka Patah New Year. That's July 4th. That's the helical rising of Sirius, where the sun and Sirius are in conjunction. Means the sun and Sirius rise together. That's what's called a helical. This is astronomy pertaining to the sun. So it's astronomical knowledge where the sun and Sirius are in conjunction. All right? Zero degrees of separation. All right? You have your square, 90 degrees. You have your opposite, 180 degrees. All right? You have your conjunction. So same thing with the helical rising of Venus. You know, helical rising of Venus where the sun and Venus are in conjunction. Square, 190 degrees. Opposition, 180 degrees. So this is astronomy. So because to comprehend what I'm presenting, you have to know astronomy. This is why I'm teaching astronomy. Otherwise, you won't be able to comprehend it. So this is the July 4th is the Egyptian New Year. Once again, the Albions are using. What I'm saying is, let me be clear. So this knowledge is for them too. So this is for them too. But what they're doing, have been doing, is claiming it as they are the developers of it, of the charters, as if they claiming as if they charted the constellations. As they claiming is as if they, determine the latitude and longitude of markers. All right? And they're keeping it from us. This knowledge is for them too. Why you say that, Abdullah? Well, how are they going to eat? So you want me to so you advocating for me, you advocating that they shouldn't live. You're advocating that they shouldn't live then. Because without this knowledge, you can't live. Why would I do that? I said it's for them too. I didn't say they're the developers of it. Without this knowledge, they can't live. So why wouldn't I want them to have this knowledge? You're saying that you advocate that they shouldn't live. How they gonna live without this knowledge? Somebody tell me. How they gonna live without this knowledge? How they gonna navigate ships? Trading. How they gonna plant? Know when to plant and harvest? Use GPS and meteorology. Determine the weather. How they gonna? This is civilization. You can't live without this. Now there are tropical areas, so there's tropical areas, and those who were born and raised in tropical areas don't know anything about farming. That's for barren areas, but tropical areas, I need to also offer that to you. Because They go out and all they know is they see you know they see pineapples and coconuts, and there's plenty of that, and papayas, and they just grow and grow, and all right. So I just want to, so those may not, so there won't be stories of plowing and those in tropical areas, harvesting and tropical areas. All right. So just want to drop here. So the bunny rabbit is a symbol of fertility, because this bunny rabbits, why was the bunny rabbit used? An egg, like the bunny rabbit doesn't lay eggs. So symbology. That's silly. We know that the bunny rabbits do not lay eggs. It's symbolic. The bunny rabbit is symbolic of fertility, because the rabbit of birth. Then you have the egg representing symbolic of fertility, dealing with the fertility of the earth. So this is why the bunny rabbit is used for both Easter, which is the heliacal rising of Venus, as well as today, which is the vernal equinox, because the sun crosses the equator, or the apparent motion of the sun crosses the equator at the vernal equinox. That's why it's called the vernal equinox. All right. So it's clear that these points need to be understood so we can continue to develop. Now, we have here the summer solstice and the winter solstice. Our autumnal equinox, as I mentioned, is September 23rd. The summer solstice is June 21st in the northern hemisphere, and the winter solstice, which was 3 months ago, is December 21st in the northern hemisphere. So when it's summer here, it is what below the equator? Winter. Because winter here, it's what below the equator? Summer. It's when it's autumn here in this northern hemisphere, it is 6 months later, spring. So this is important that we understand, this fundamental basic principles of astronomy. So this continuing and expanding our knowledge. And you see that path here along the ecliptic. So the sun moving along the ecliptic, 90 days later. So the sun will, as I said before, the sun will stay in Aries for 30 days. And so 90 days later, you have the summer solstice. So it's moving along the equator. The day it's on the equator, and it's moving along that path, this ecliptic path. And this is this ecliptic path. So the sun, it will be at its, see here? When the sun is here, it is at its outer limits. It's not going here. All right, this is the limit. This is this extreme northerly point. It's extreme northerly point. All right? This is the extreme southerly point. The extreme southerly point. This is the extreme northerly point. This is why they're called solstitial points. Solstitial points, sun stands still. The sun stands still here, or the apparent motion of the sun stands still. The apparent motion of the sun stands here, still in the winter solstice. These are extreme southerly point, the extreme northerly point. This is also, these are 2 points, once again, reviewing where the sun crosses the equator. This knowledge is thousands of years old. The Albions are standing on our shoulders. They're standing on our shoulders. This is our shoulders. They're standing on our shoulders. They did not chart this. They're standing on our shoulders. I look to you. I look to you. That's what they're saying to us. We look to you. Thank you, ancestors. Thank you, ancestors. They look to us. We're Atlas. With the world on our shoulders. We're Atlas. The world on our shoulders. This knowledge. Albions are benefiting, as they should. Not gonna call me no hater. But Albions, you've been oppressing us. We raised you up. You didn't know how to bathe. You have suppressed this knowledge. You have colonized our land for over 400 years. You have usurped Moorish territorial sovereignty and created Dutch and Portugal and Portuguese and Spanish and English and French territorial sovereignty on Moorish soil. You're claiming territorial sovereignty on our land. We're Atlas, the world on our shoulders, and you have benefited from our knowledge. I'm not saying you should not have it. You've gone every avenue to oppress us, to usurp our national sovereignty, to use us as sureties and futures in the stock market, to put drugs in our community, to deal with using us as sureties and futures. And you have benefited from our teachings. We allowed you in our universities in Europe. We've taught you. We raised you up from a dead level to a living perpendicular. So as you was looking down, you was looking at the perfect point of the square. Raised up from a dead level to a living perpendicular. We're talking astronomy, y'all. Dead level to a living perpendicular. 90-degree angle. Dead level horizontal to a living perpendicular forms a 90-degree angle. All right? So that's understanding what Masonry is. It is Moorish culture. Masonry is not just it's not a bunch of allegories and violence and symbols, and they're not symbols. They're astronomical tools. They're measurement devices. There's no symbols. There's no just mere symbols of worship. The compass and square, the bow compass. The bow compass you use in math class. The plumber square. Once again, the plumber square dead level to a living perpendicular. 90 degrees square. And so as we continue to deal with the astronomy, so where we go with this? Now, in my book, The Masonic Compass of Square and the Connection of Timekeeping and Measurement, I deal with astronomy. This book is based in astronomy. I explain the astronomical meaning, or what they call Masonic symbols. Once again, they're not symbols. They're not symbols. They're measurement tools and devices. I explained the winding staircase and I explained the two pillars. I explained why they have in the lodge, why the cornerstone is placed in the northeast corner of the lodge. The cornerstone is placed in the northeast corner of the lodge because of this. The summer solstice. June 21st, St. John the Baptist Day. June 24th is actually the celebration of the summer solstice. The summer solstice in this northern hemisphere is on June 21st. It hovers for 3 days. So the June 24th is the ending of the sun's hovering. Why the northeast? Why the celebration of the raising of the cornerstone or setting the cornerstone in the northeast corner? Because the summer solstice sun rises in the northeast. Where does William Penn stand? William Penn faces in Philadelphia, top of City Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. William Penn faces northeast. That's an observatory. William Penn faces northeast. He faces the direction of the museum, Philadelphia Museum of Art. So it's an observatory. The city of Philadelphia is laid out astronomically. Williams Lexton, Volume 10. William Lexton, Volume 10. The Civil Engineer Manual. William Lexton, Volume 10. Laxton, Volume 10. For the city of Philadelphia, Center City, is laid out astronomically. This is ancient knowledge. It's the knowledge of charting your destiny. Without this knowledge, you cannot chart your destiny. You have someone else charting our destiny. We don't want that. We don't want someone foreign to us charting our destiny. So we will be subjugated. You need the knowledge. We need to raise our children up with an astronomical knowledge. The Children's Corner, the Academy of Providence, and her Children's Corner. Raise the children up with the knowledge of astronomy and spherical trigonometry to chart our destiny. And jurisprudence. So we need institutions, as we have the Academy of Providence and the Children's Corner. So we have my Masonic Compass of Square and the connection and measurement and timekeeping. Moors and Masonry. Moors and Masonry. Back cover. The enslavement of Europeans doesn't fit the general theme of European world conquests and colonization that is central to scholarship on the early modern era. Robert Davis, professor of Italian Renaissance history, Ohio State University. So this is the depiction of the true history that is not known to the general public. This is my Moors and Masonry. The Illuminati and the illumination of the mind, the ancient musical scale, pineal gland, melanin, DNA, and cellular memory. There is the Egyptian substitute ruler. The Egyptian substitute ruler, known with using the Egyptian rulership title, Pope, has the staff, the royals, our royal staff. There are two snakes intertwined, rising up to the pine cone. So the snakes representing regeneration, rebirth, renewal of life, also the Kundalini energy. The pine cone representing the pineal gland, the activation of the pineal gland, or insight, inner seeing, inner knowing. The sunlight stimulates the serotonin and melatonin, the neuromelanin in your brain, activating the higher brain centers, the medulla oblongata, the cerebellum, the cerebrum, the hypothalamus, activating the higher brain centers, inner knowing, inner seeing. That's epistemology. So we have here my etymology and vocabulary book. I have another book, couldn't find, my Illuminati, how her Venus and Moon rule. How her Venus and Moon rule. All right. So to get my books, you go to mooresandmasonry.org. I'll write on the board. All right, mooresandmasonry.org. So mooresandmasonry.org, you see on the screen. Now we have upcoming. The Academy of Providence has her annual course, the Juris course, Juris Part 2, Juris 201, from April 17th to July 3rd, a 12-week law course, Saturdays from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, via Zoom, virtual, or classroom, here at 602 Vanderveer Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware. About our program, the 12-week Juris course is designed to teach the principles of how Moorish treaties benefit the Moors as creditors and protect them from being debtors of a foreign power. Further, the students will be taught how Moorish treaties are enforced through government structure. In addition to treaty and government study, students will learn how to structure, file and serve cases, write writs, answers, affirmative defenses, reconsideration, and memorandum of law. Enroll now. UnitedRepublicaMorocco.com. Click Academy of Providence. UnitedRepublicaOfMorocco.com. Click Academy of Providence. Next, this coming week, the National Meet and Greet. The Moorish and Pure Restoration Caucus invites all of you to her National Meet and Greet. The national meet and greet will be this Wednesday, March 24th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live video service, Zoom. Let me give you what is the Moorish and Pure Restoration Caucus. The Moorish and Pure Restoration Caucus, the Moorish and Pure Restoration Caucus formed to address the 400-year-old European occupation issue of our Moorish lands and the usurpation of our Moorish sovereignty by developing a strategic plan based on our Moorish nationality claim and a sound jurisprudence to facilitate the national political unity of our people in a central governing body to facilitate the national political unity of our people in a central governing body with free, open elections and a national constitution through a Moorish constitutional convention. The Moors have been indoctrinated into falsely believing that they are part and parcel or part and parcel of the United States and therefore can use the United States Constitution for their protection. So looking forward to seeing all of you next Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. for the Moorish Imperial Parliament, Moorish Imperial Restoration Caucus National Meet and Greet. And then we also looking forward to seeing you on April 17th as the Academy of Providence will have her law as a second part 2 or the Juris 201 law course. All right. So I trust that I was able to illuminate you, to stimulate your mind, to stimulate that neuromelanin and have you so that you can appreciate today. Happy New Year. Happy Passover as the sun passes over the equator, or the sun is on the equator today. It was in the Tropic of Capricorn for 6 months. On the equator today, and entering the Tropic of Cancer, where she will be for 6 months. So I thank you for following, listening, and it's just hope I was able to be some help in stimulating your cellular memory. Once again, to get my books, you go to mooresandmasonry.org. I really thank you again. I'll peace these you in greetings. Assalamu alaikum. Veda Makum. Islam. Peace.